Hey you guys, it's Sarah here and welcome to my channel DIY Busy Books. In this video, I'm going to show you how I put together my forest animal finger puppet page for children's felt quiet busy books. And it's been a while since I've shared a free, totally brand new template, so you can bet this is going to be for free. The template for it will be available on my website, bambinobusybooks.com. Just scroll through the free templates page. It'll be on, I think, page number 5. There's over 70 free templates on there if you want to go and make a busy book for your little one. And if you want to make these in bulk and make and sell them, I know there are some of you out there. I have a Patreon that is dedicated to sharing these exact templates that I make exactly the way that I make them, so in bulk. So I have them arranged to be cut multiple sets at a time so that I can make a bunch of copies of these pages. So if you're interested in that, that's DIY Busy Books on Patreon. You can check that out. I'll show you what you get. I'll show you what it looks like in a moment in case you're interested in. Let me pull out all these little finger puppets and show you what the page itself looks like. That's the page itself. So it comes with those really cute trees. This is what the other side looks like. And then the little hills act as pockets for storage. And it comes with these 7 little forest animal finger puppets. It was really hard to narrow down which 7 I wanted to include because all the forest animals, at least the ones that we have here in Ontario in Canada, they're all really cute. So I ended up choosing an owl, a skunk, a raccoon, a fox, and then a deer, a rabbit, and a bear. So those are the 7 finger puppets that come with the set. Thanks so much, you guys, for watching this video, for all your support and your love. Sending much love your way, and I will see you in the next video. So this is what my Patreon looks like for those of you who are interested or are curious. I post templates that I use for making these. Here is the forest animal one. With all the templates, you just click on the images, you scroll through, you'll see a bunch of examples of what the activity page looks like. And then as you scroll through, eventually you will get to the black and white JPEG images that are all, you can save them all and upload them to your cutting machine, and they are all meant to be cut on 12-inch by 12-inch cutting mats. And so they're available in the JPEG, and then I also put them in the SVG format below that as well, and then some written instructions and some details about the cost and how much the materials cost, what I personally sell the page for, how much time it takes, just more details about that. So that's what you get in my Patreon. Let me head over to what all the templates look like in my design space here. There's a lot of cuts for this one, and I'm just going to go through them quickly. The way that I've designed it is so that you can make 6 copies of this activity page all at once, which means that with most of the templates, you're going to get 6 sets. First one, this white rabbit, that's the white rabbits and the white stripes on the skunk. That'll cut you enough for 6. This one cuts you enough for 6 brown bears. This one cuts you enough for 6 skunks, as well as their tails, and then 6 raccoon, 6 of the black raccoon eyes. You can see here those two black circles. That's all in the black template here. This one actually cuts enough for 12 of the fox faces and then the little white bellies on the animals. This one cuts enough for 6 of the foxes with their tails. All of the trees, so this green, these shades of green trees, and the turquoise tree and the red tree, that all again cuts enough for sets of 12. And again, this is what it looks like on the page. So you just need 1 of each one per page. And again, with all of the animals, like this brown one here is for the reindeer. This one here is for the owls. This one here is for the raccoon. Again, when you cut them, you get enough for 6 each. Here, right here is the antlers, pairs of antlers, along with some of the branches. So that will give you enough for 6 sets. And then here is another set of branches, and that cuts enough for 12. So I just use the first 6 and then save the other 6 for later. So you'll see in my particular one, I have different shades of brown for the branches. So I cut the darker brown trunks. Sorry, not branches, I mean trunks. I cut the darker brown trunks with the deer antlers, and then in a lighter shade of brown I cut some trunks, so you'll have some extra there when you cut out that one. And then these are the black and white eyes and some of the noses, and then there is the green hills for the pockets of the page. So one cut of this template cuts enough for 2 sets, so you have to cut out 3 of those in order to get enough for your 6 sets. Okay, but that's all the templates for how I use them when I'm cutting them, and that is what gets shared on my Patreon in case you were curious. Okay, I've got all my pieces cut out and ready to go, and I have some extra, another set of 6 trees left over, and I have a bunch of extra of the white bellies and the white fox face left over, and I have some dark brown trees left over. I'm just going to put those all in a baggie This is my very fancy high-tech way of storing pieces. And I'm just going to label it so that the next time I go ahead and make another 6 sets of this forest animal finger puppet set, I don't have to recut the trees. Like, it's going to save me a bunch of cuts. So the next time I make it, it's going to be even quicker than the first time. As always, I'm using an 8" by 8" or 20 centimeter by 20 centimeter sheet of felt, and I am now pretty much exclusively using my nice 1.2 millimeter thick Korean felt. I have this available on my website now, both in this size in 11.5 by 11.5 inch, or basically 12" by 12" size, as well as by the yard. So if you'd like to go and check that out, you can. I'm going to start by going ahead and sewing a copy of each of the finger puppets together, just sewing around the borders, but as always, leaving their bottoms open. And there's just a couple of things. This one is going to be the deer, so in the kind of golden brown color with the darker colored antlers. So I'm going to just put those antlers in between and sew them in place when I sew around the border. The bear, you can go ahead and sew around the border. The black one is the skunk, and it has a little tail with it, so I'm just going to sew that in between when I sew around the border. The bunny is fine, the owl is fine. Fox, same thing, it has an orange tail. I'm just going to sew that tucked between the 2 copies so that it stays in place when I sew around the border. And then raccoon, the gray one, same thing, has the tail, so I will put that in place as well when I sew. Okay, I've got all those finger puppets glued, or not glued together, but sewn together. You could use hot glue too if you were just doing a DIY version and not sewing. You can totally use hot glue. Hot glue works really well on felt. The next thing I'm going to do is take these 2 green hills. They're going to be sewn on the page just like this. And I'm going to take this red circle, this dark red circle tree, and that branch there, and I'm going to sew it down onto here. And I'll take this other shade of green, this tree, and I'm going to sew it right down onto here with this branch. And when I sew, it's just really quick. All I'm literally going to do is just put a stitch right here and go right down to here. Same with when I sew this one. I'm just going to put a stitch here, go right down to here. Next, I'm just going to clip these little hills in place. I'm not going to sew them down quite yet. I'm going to just wait until the very end when I'm sewing around the whole border to sew the hills in place, because I actually want these hills to stay open so that they can act as storage pockets. So when I do sew, I'm only going to be sewing the sides and the bottom. So those will be clipped in place, and then I'm going to, again, in the same kind of way, I'm going to sew down this tree here and this other green tree right here. And the same kind of deal as I did with these ones, I'm just going to put a straight stitch right down the middle of the trunk of the tree. And next I'm going to take another 8" by 8" sheet of felt, and I'm going to wrap it with some really cute fabric. You guys know I always have the perfect fabric to go with my pages because of my fabric addiction. So I'm going to just wrap that really cute forest seam fabric around my sheet of felt. If you are a normal person and you don't have an addiction to fabric and this infinite stash of fabric, then just go ahead and use a plain sheet of felt. Or if you want to make your pages double-sided, you can. I do mine just one-sided, and that's how I sell them at craft shows, is just by the, like, per page, so customers can build their own busy book. So on the back sides, I always just have a plain sheet of felt, or I have it covered with a really cute, fun fabric for kids to look at. And then I use my 2mm or 3mm felt that I just cut freehand with some scalloped edge fabric scissors. I'll leave the link for them where I got them below in the description. And I just place that in between the front and the back sheet of felt. That's going to act as my binding piece, and I'm going to go ahead and sew around the whole border. So that's what this activity page will look like from the front and the back. And then I have my heavy duty hole punch. This is everybody's favorite part. I'm just going to hole punch 2 holes into the felt, and that will act as my binding piece to connect the pages together using binder rings. So I'm going to start with hot gluing on 3 white bellies, 1 onto the owl, 1 onto the raccoon, and 1 onto the deer or the moose or the caribou or whatever you want them to be. And then I'm also going to hot glue this white piece of the fox face. Oops, I actually put glue at the edge there. I don't know if you can see that You just kind of need glue in the center because the face kind of hangs over. Oh, sorry, you can't see. The ends of the face kind of hang over, so you don't need to apply hot glue near the ends, just in the middle. And then there's also a set of black eyes to go ahead and hot glue onto the raccoon. And then we're going to go ahead and hot glue on all of them sets of white eyes and then the little black circles on top of the white eyes. Okay, all the eyes are glued on, except I just wanted to mention I also used one of the black circles as the nose for both the fox and the bear. And I forgot about the skunk. Before I hot glue on the eyes, I have this white piece to go down the whole skunk body for that white strip that we see on our skunks. And then I'm going to hot glue the eyes kind of partially over top of that. I'm also going to use one of those black eye circles for the skunk nose, just like I did with the bear and the fox. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some paint markers. This is the HUAL brand that you guys may have seen me use in other videos. They're not a sponsor, it's just the first brand that I bought and I like them okay. If I was only using white, I could just use fabric markers, but fabric markers are not going to work on black. So for example, with the skunk, I'm going to take my white paint marker and just draw a line down the tail so that he has that white tail. Now, in the video right now, while it's wet, it looks very white. I find that when it dries, it fades a bit, and you may have to draw it on again. Here's another skunk that has dried. So you can see it has faded a bit. And then I'm going to use a pink for drawing in some rabbit ears and a little heart-shaped rabbit nose. I'm going to use the orange for an owl nose. And again, I just love this because it saves me from having to cut out these tiny little, like tiny little orange piece for the nose or tiny little pink pieces, because when pieces are that small, they're really a pain to cut. So it's just a lot easier to draw them on if you can. With the fox, again, I'm just going to color on a bit of white on the tip of his tail. And then I'm just going to take a little black dot for the nose of the deer. And then for the nose of the raccoon, I'll draw that on as well. And then I'm also going to draw on some black stripes on the tail. I'm going to put those aside just for a minute to let them dry, and I will use my dry set to show you. That is what the finished product looks like. So little kids can put them on their fingers, and they have this entire really cute set of their favorite little forest animals. That gives a total of 7 little forest animal friends. So they're super cute, and then kids can just store them in the pockets of these hills when they are not playing with them. Altogether, this took me about 25 minutes to assemble, to do everything that you just watched me do in this video. And then I would say the cutting time takes about 15 minutes. I didn't keep exact track of it, and because I'm cutting 6 sets at a time, I just cut them all last night. But I would give myself 15 minutes for cutting enough pieces for a single one of these pages. So altogether, this takes me about 40 minutes to put together. I'll leave the details of cost of materials, profit margin, what I personally charge. I'll leave those details in my Patreon if that's something you're interested in. And if not, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.